What's going on, world? And welcome back to the Pursuit of the Good Life podcast. I am your host, the Kameron Lovelace, joined as always by the amazing Dr. Lee. What's going on?
What's going on, Cam? Back in the M,
Back in the
Mississippi.
M.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to chill out in the M.
Oh my goodness.
That's one thing or another. But I do. So before we get into our topic today, I have to talk about what I tried to talk about at the end of the last podcast, but I got to bring it up now. But does it seem like everybody got like buy one, get 50 fireworks for free?
Yes.
Because here, like as we record this, it is the 16th, I believe. Yeah, no, the 15th.
15.
So it's been like a whole month since Juneteenth. And I feel like every single weekend, at least in Memphis, I can't speak for other states, but every week in Memphis weekend, I'm hearing some sort of fireworks every weekend. Some sort of fire, at least one or two.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, I think there is a buy one. I think there was a buy one, get one free. I personally, so, I've been in Dallas the last few weekends, but when I was here, after the 4th, they was just still out there popping. And I'm just like, okay, so this is my time frame for fireworks. I give you the weekend before the 4th because they on sale. Everybody excited. I give you that. You can get the weekend before the 4th. You can get the week before the 4th. But after the 4th of July, y'all need to put them things up. Like, and maybe the 5th, because sometimes you have some left over. But after July 5th, we don't need to hear fireworks. You need to let that go. Like, y'all just too excited. And then I think this year it's different because we're all in quarantine and everybody want to do something, and you trying to get your kids at the house. So you say, hey, go pop these fireworks, which disturbs the rest of the neighborhood because we don't want to hear it.
Right. And so, I think it was perpetually worse because of Juneteenth, because people started popping fireworks on Juneteenth, which was, and Black folk, and I'm saying this because I am Black. Black folks, you give them an inch, they take a mile. So even though Juneteenth was on a Friday,
they
took the whole weekend.
And then they opened up the fire. See, I think the issue with that was the firecracker people had their stands open by Juneteenth. And so people was already buying them and wanted to go ahead and pop them. I think if they would have just waited a little while, getting closer to the 4th, then it probably wouldn't have been as bad.
The crazy part is that they actually are on sale all year. Fireworks. The little tents, they be on the side of the highways like year round. But I mean, they go on sale at peak time. So like May to June, the sales like drop. The sales start, and then November to December, the sales start again for people who want to pop on the New Year's.
Yeah.
But my poor little dog, she just all types of traumatized. She just hearing boom, 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 boom. She's sitting here shaking, but nevertheless, I just need to know, like, what's the deal with the fireworks, all this stuff. But right, but today's topic is a bit is I don't want to say complicated, but it's complicated because of the social media wave that is Will and Jada Pinkett Smith. So for those of you who aren't privy to social media, because we do have some listeners that just don't follow social media like that. Media about 2 weeks ago, August Alsina did an interview. Part of the interview, I will credit him this. Part of the whole interview wasn't about this, but part of the interview was about his alleged relationship with Jada Pinkett Smith.
Right.
And all that. So he basically confirmed, yeah, we had a relationship. I won't get into details of that, but he said, yes, we had a previous relationship. And I really cared about her. I loved her. This was a real deal. This wasn't like a no fling. This was a relationship.
Right.
And then a week later, after the interview on Red Table Talk, Jada basically confirms that this was true. But she goes as far to say that we were in a entanglement.
Yes.
To which Will, her husband, responded, girl, this was a relationship. I don't know why you trying to play it down like an entanglement. And let me tell you, Black Twitter had a field day with that clip. With that clip alone, you talk about entanglement, and this is a whole full-blown relationship. So, man, so where do you want to start by dissecting this? Because we on this podcast we do talk about rebuilding relationships. And for a long time, I'll say a significant amount of time in the Black community, especially the young Black community, we kind of looked up to Will and Jada.
Yeah, their relationship goals.
Right. And I know for me personally, that kind of started to shift a little bit when they started talking about this life partnership thing.
Yeah.
Like when they started talking about that, I was like, hold on, something don't sound right. Something is
going on here.
Something's amiss. Something ain't right. And so I did a little digging, then all these rumors about them swinging and doing all this good stuff. So they're not swingers.
Mm-mm.
Well, there's no proof of them being swingers. But
they said they weren't swinging.
They said they weren't swinging, and there's no proof of them swinging. So I will not label them quote unquote swingers.
Yeah.
But it appears that they have gone to the place where their marriage was, for a time at least, I don't know if it is now, but for a time it was open. And that was because they were having issues between the two of them where they were not happy. They were potentially looking to get a divorce and completely split at one point. And it sounds like during that time they were exploring other things. Yeah. Don't know what Will's doing, but Jada's business and all the business got put on blast that they had a whole relationship. And so, we in the young millennial Gen Z community, we at one point looked up to them and was like, oh yeah, they goals, they successful.
That's what we want. They Black blood.
That's what we want. And then we realized, I don't know if I want that no more. And it just kind of made it worse at the end of the interview when they were like, we ride together, we die together, bad marriage for life.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was so this okay.
Black Twitter had a field day with that too.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. So I feel like there are a lot of things that happen in video, but I feel like that piece, the we ride together, die together, bad marriage for life, I feel like they took that and reached all the way over for it. And the reason why I say that is because it was just a play on the saying from Bad Boys. If you watch Bad Boys, watch the movies, that's what they say. Like, we ride together, we die together, bad boys for life, right? Not saying that they're bad, but and like when they said that, the memes, I think it's the memes that did it for me. Like the memes on that one, I'm just like, y'all, like, come on, y'all, like that ain't what really. And then like I seen all these think pieces and all these people, well, they talk about we ride together, we die together, bad marriage. I don't want that. And I'm just like, I get it. But that wasn't it. Like that, they weren't glorifying a bad marriage. That was just a little thing. And then they laughed. Like it was a joke. I feel like it was a joke.
But
that it was poorly timed joke.
Yes, it was.
Poorly timed joke. But it was a joke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a joke. But Black Twitter and even Facebook, like the people have like, whew. I would, you know what? Honestly, I would hate to be famous. And this is why I would hate to be famous. Because one thing I know about me is I am flawed. Mm-hmm. And it seems like when you are a celebrity, it's like they take your flaws or your mishaps and it's like it's amplified. Mm-hmm. And it's celebrities and preachers. Celebrities and preachers. Mm-hmm. Like you fall or whatever, and it's like, oh no, we gotta cancel them and they trash and they this. Like the same people who about maybe a month ago was like, oh man, Jada and Will, they goals are the same people. Some of they trash, they this, they that. And I'm like, wow, y'all was just riding for these folks. Mm-hmm. Y'all was just riding for them. But
the preachers,
yeah, it's a lot.
the preachers I can semi understand because they're supposed to be leading the sheep, and so God
Okay.
spiritually holds them in a higher standard and higher place. I can, but at the same time, they're human just like we're human. So
Exactly.
I see both sides. Now the celebrities, they ain't. The only difference is that they get paid a little bit more for what they do. That's really
Right.
between them and us. But this whole entanglement was.
Yeah. A lot.
I would. So when the rumors first started to resurface,
Okay.
and
This is about a year ago.
yeah, this like surfaced like a year after he had them on the talk, which she lied in the interview talking about she ain't really talked with him in a long time. I'm like, you just had him on the show last season.
Well, maybe she meant like intimately talk to him.
She said ceased communication. Ceased communication. But anyway, that's not the point of this. But when this whole thing resurfaced, well, when the rumors started to surface, and this life partnership phase like went around the top, I think everybody kind of has to realize that, well, one, relationships and marriages aren't always peaches and cream, rainbows, sunshine, insert frolicking term here. Marriage has its ebbs and flows, and I'm only 2 going on 3 years, but yeah, I can definitely point to some highlights and some lowlights of like marriage. But it's how you handle the marriage, it's how you handle those valleys that will determine like how you move forward. For them, they transition to life partnership, saying that no matter what, we are going to be life partners no matter what. And the thing about that is it's still at the same time, even though it's kind of crazy looking on the outside, at the same time, there is a little bit of beauty to it, because it's like, no matter what happens, I'm going to be in it with you for life.
Right.
And it's hard to reach that level of unconditional love in your marriage. Like, I don't want to say, oh yeah, you should love your partner no matter what. It's easier said than done.
Right.
Like
Right.
because things happen, whether they're financial, whether it's familial, whether it's whatever it is. Like, marriage can be difficult, and saying that you'll love them no matter what is difficult. And so I personally think that you should still, even because you got to love, I'm all about self-love. You got to love yourself first before you love anybody else. And you do have to have a limit on that. Like, for whatever your particular thing is. Like, if that thing for you is infidelity, then keep that reserved for your help. Like, the marriage say, for richer, for poor,
Yeah.
till death do us part. Like, hold on, hey, hold, back it up. Let's back that up. I do have conditions, and my wife has conditions. Like, if you cross this line right here, then we done. Like, ain't no, because can't trust you after that. I can't trust you after this. Can't trust you after you break this seal. If you smack me upside my head, you throw me through a wall, how I'm supposed to know you're not going to go a temperature transfer and do it again? If you go out and you got a whole bank account, a whole nother life that I don't know about, how am I supposed to trust you? Like, there is levels to this, and I think everybody kind of has to realize, when you are in a relationship, you do have to have limits, in where you're not having a quote unquote bad marriage, and you have to transition to a life partnership. But I just have so many thoughts about it. What you go ahead, Sarah.
My thoughts. I have several thoughts about it. So one thing I can say, I really do believe the way that I have been viewing Will and Jada has changed. Like, it would be different if I was single. I could put that out there. So if I was a single woman, not in a relationship, not doing what I'm doing now, the way I would view this would be different. But because I am engaged, we are in this premarital class, and I'm learning so many things, I can understand my viewpoint has changed. And the reason why it's changed is because one of the things that we have been learning in our premarital class, it's just like the purpose of marriage and just how,
right,
like, your marriage. So from a biblical standpoint, your marriage is supposed to mirror God's relationship with us to the world.
right.
And so when it comes to love, when it comes to forgiveness, when it comes to all of that, it's supposed to mirror that. Now, I don't know if Will and Jada are as deep in the kingdom like that. I don't know. I'm not judging nobody. What I can say though, their forgiveness and like the forgiveness piece in this is the one thing that stands out to me. And the reason why I say that is this whole thing with August happened 4 years ago. They clearly, within the past 4 years, have worked this out however they did it. Did they go to counseling? I don't know. Did they do something else? We don't know. But they did something. Something has transpired to where they have talked about this, they've reconciled this, and they have literally moved on with their life. To be honest, if August didn't have that interview last week, we would have never known about this.
It still would have
And
been.
that's the truth. Huh?
It would have been allegations.
It still would have been allegations, but they wouldn't have said nothing.
Right.
Like, honestly, like if August Alsina did not say anything these past 2 weeks, we would have not have known this. And I really think that this, honestly, I think August saying something is a little bit of publicity. And I think them saying something is because they have a brand. They have a brand to protect. Because one of the things, and I think people miss this, in their interview, the most recent interview, Will had made a comment. It was get you back. And Jada was like, oh, you already did that. And he laughed and was like, yeah. Now, me being me, if we're talking about entanglements and all this stuff, and Will's like, I got to get you back, and she said, you already did it, that lets me know that Will probably has done his thing. We don't know.
His versions of entanglements, too.
He probably has had his versions of entanglements that I'm pretty sure Will was like, he probably met some people that ain't going to talk about it. And so, but it just lets me further know that, like, okay, this issue between them is something that, like, they have figured out how to work out between them and have, like, moved on and moved forward and all this other stuff. Do I agree with having entanglements? I don't. Entanglements ain't for the kid. It ain't for me. I don't care if we separated. We is not being entangled with. Ain't nobody else coming up in here. But hey, that's Sarah's life. That's me. You know, because in the video, so like I remember the very first Red Table Talk. It was like a 2-part episode. Her and Will was like her first guest. And they talked about their relationship. And one of the things that stood out to me was they talked about the separation. They didn't talk about this, but they talked about it. And Will straight up said, I was leaving you. I was done with you. Mm-hmm. He was like, I was done with you.
Yeah, we said we broke up.
We broke up. Right. He's like, I was done. He's like, I was tired of it. I was tired of you. And all this stuff. He was like, I told you, you need to go figure out what makes you happy and then bring it back and tell me what to do. And so I was like,
Like I said, like when all this stuff started circling, because stuff had been circling before that point, and then that episode happened, I was like, something ain't right. Something is amiss.
Something is amiss. And she went out and found what made her happy. And they came together. And then they decided that they're going to be life partners and they're going to do this life thing. I was like, okay. And so even then, like even on that first episode, my mindset was, okay, somebody, one of them, then did something with somebody else. Like something has happened. Mm-hmm. And then this happens this year. We're like, oh, okay. It makes sense. Because apparently August Alsina actually dropped a song in 2018. Mm-hmm. And it was about her, but he lied and said it wasn't about her.
Yeah, we now know it was her.
We now know it was about her. Because like the art for it was like a text thread. Mm-hmm. And somebody named Corinne, which is her middle name. And so it's like, okay, all the pieces coming together. But I'm saying all this to say, I think the one takeaway that I've gotten from this is that having this is taking it to Black Twitter in the social media world. Having relationship goals is okay, but don't idolize that. And the reason why I say we shouldn't idolize these couples is because, one, marriage is work. You're going to get in what you put out. Like, what you get from is what you put in. And two, people are flawed. And clearly, what Will and Jada got going on, it works for them. Do I agree with it? It's not my cup of tea. I ain't sipping on it. They sip it. They sip it good. Mm-hmm. They make it. They figured out how much sugar and whatever to put in their tea. Mm-hmm. But we just have to not. We shouldn't idolize these couples because, like, there are real life people who are like butt hurt and just all of this. It was the same for Jay-Z and Beyonce. You know, for years, people were like, oh, I want that Jay-Z and Beyonce love. I want this. I want that. You know, we don't hear nothing about them. We just see them showing up at these award shows and da-da-da-da. Come to find out, Jay-Z was cheating. Now, first of all, Beyonce is gorgeous. And, you know, but the man cheated on her too. And then people was like, oh my God, da-da-da. But it's like, we have to stop idolizing. So like, I feel like it's okay to admire couples. And so you might see a couple, it's like, you know what? I like what they're doing. I like how they look. You know, it's okay to be like, you know what? I admire them. But when you get to the point where it's like, you know what? I want just like that. I want to be just like this. But then when you realize what's really going on behind these closed doors and you realize like, oh, because I'm pretty sure a lot of women and a lot of men probably would not be okay with their significant other being in an entanglement. Regardless if y'all are separated, I'm pretty sure y'all are not okay with that. It would be really hard for you. And not only that, the person is out here talking about it. So
yeah. So let me hop in, because the thing about it is, even though this was in the past and they have already worked through this, you could see on Will's face that bringing this back, this is still like
on Will's face.
Yeah, on Will's face.
Yeah.
Like, this is still a point of contention. Like, even though this is the past, even though we've worked through it, and people got to acknowledge, even though thing is in the past, like, that still can bother you. Like, going through and having to relive this and readdress this and even talk about it again can still be like a hurt, like right here. Like, it can still hurt. But like you said, Sarah, we have to get to the point to where we are not idolizing just the image of marriage.
Yeah,
just
it's the image.
Just the nice, the glitz, the glamour, the pictures, the people going on vacations, the people who all up on their husbands, the wife who's, because you don't know what goes on when that camera shuts off.
Man, and folks could probably be going at each other necks. Like, they take that picture.
Right. And so what we have to pursue is that making our marriage happy day to day, year to year. And the thing about it is that, you know, that will change. That'll look different from year to year. But your goal has to be just to make every day of marriage, you know, as good as you possibly can be. So if that means year 3 to 5, you need to, you know, some things have happened and y'all need to go to counseling and refigure some things out. Go do that. If that means, you know, one spouse is, you know, overseas, or they have to move before you can transition over to meet them, and y'all got to work through that. Okay, you got to work. Like, every year looks different, but the thing about it is, like, the pursuit of working together. And like I said, the beauty of it is, like, this life partnership quote that they using. It does have some beauty to it, because it's like, you know, I'm still with you and we are going to make this work. We've been together 20 plus years. We got 2 kids together, and we are still making this work. Like, I'm still going to support you. You're still going to support me, because I genuinely love you, and I realize I do not want to be with anybody else.
Right.
So,
and that's commendable.
Right.
to
That's why I say that's the beauty of what they got. I
yeah,
mean, it's crazy looking right now, but the good news is that this will pass.
right, of
Something else
course.
to come up and
Yeah,
make people forget about all this. But
yeah,
the beauty of that, if you can reach that level in your marriage, where well, I mean, without the entanglements, without the
yeah,
breakup, without the issues, um, but if you can reach that place of I love you no matter what, and I'm going to do my part to make this marriage great,
yeah,
then you're in a good place as far as your marriage. And when you have a partner who feels the same way, then you're in a great place.
yeah. I agree with you on that wholeheartedly. I think that it takes work, but
Oh,
the thing that I'm learning, because even like going through this premarital class and just seeing what people write, I don't think people realize how much work marriage takes. Like I think
yeah.
people think that, I'm gonna date this person, we line up in here, we got the same faith, we have all this stuff, and we're just gonna get married.
Mm-mm.
But it like you're literally conjoining your life with somebody.
Right.
And so when you make that decision, when you make that verbal commitment that we're going to get married, that means you're taking this person, you're receiving this person, flaws and all. So if somebody that snores, right, like they're little bitty things that they do, you're receiving that, you're accepting that. And I don't think people realize that. Like, I don't think people realize that, like, to have a good marriage takes work. It takes a lot of reflection. It takes a lot of, like, I think getting married is one of the most selfless things you can do because it's no longer about just you.
Right.
Like, you have to consider another person in this, right? You're becoming one. And I think what trips a lot of people up is that we get so caught up in, oh, I want the wedding. I want this beautiful wedding. And I want all of these things. And I want to wear matching t-shirts. And we have matching pajamas on Christmas. And, all like we get caught up in these images that we see and don't even realize that it took time for them people to get to these matching pajamas, right? It took time for them to get that because you're marrying another flawed person. And one thing I am learning, this commitment, this marriage, is like a mirror to yourself. Like you figure out a lot about yourself
Facts.
and you see yourself. And sometimes what you see isn't always pretty. And you have to get to a point to where
Mm-hmm.
you can accept that and be willing to change those pieces that aren't good about yourself or aren't pretty or all of that. And I think that that's been one of the things that I've been thinking about, like with this whole Will and Jada thing, and see just like a lot of single people, like the things that they say, and I'm just like, man, like if only you knew, like if only like you really knew the type of work that goes into this,
Mm-hmm.
you probably wouldn't crucify them so much. Like you probably wouldn't drag them so hard if you just knew like the things that people have to go through. And also like your marriage is gonna be different from the next person.
Right.
So what Cam and Sparkle do is what Cam and Sparkle do. That's what works for y'all. I'm pretty sure y'all been married. What 3 years?
We
How
were
long y'all been married?
3 years in 2021, so we just celebrated 2. Been together for 4.
Right. So I'm pretty sure that with you all been married for 2 years, you be 2 years of marriage looks completely different from your first year of being in a relationship.
Oh, without question.
Yes, it
Without,
looks it's
without
different. It's
question.
right. But I'm pretty sure that like you all have figured out y'all's rhythm, right? You all have figured out you all's heartbeat. You all have figured out each other. And I feel like you're ever growing. Like,
Correct.
because I can give you an example. This past week we had we went over love languages in our premarital class.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took the love language quiz. I've taken it a few times. And so before me and Ken actually got together, I had took it again. And my top love language was acts of service.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so after being with Ken for it's been over. So we've been dating over a year. We've been engaged since February. Took it again. My top love language shifted. And now my number one is words of affirmation.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, that's different. Like that's like it shifts. Like that's something that can change. But just imagine being married to somebody and you on year 20 and you still thinking their love language is acts of service and it
Right.
shift.
Right.
But you have to know that like you're going to grow. You're going to learn things. Some things change, some things don't change. Like clearly with Will and Jada, they had been together for a while before they even got to the separation piece. And, you know, one of the things that I think stood out was that Will was like, I guess one of the turning points that led to the separation was that he had planned this elaborate birthday party for her. I think it was like her 40th birthday, this
Mm-hmm.
elaborate thing. And he was just waiting for her to be happy. And she went to the room and cried.
Mm-hmm.
And that crushed him.
Right. Because he wanted like his family, the marriage, like
Yeah.
he had this idea, but she didn't want that
She didn't want it.
at all. Like they just didn't understand. And this is why you gotta also, it's deeper than just communication. And I
Yeah.
started saying this, especially when I'm doing the work that I do with people, is that we say that, you know, communication is the number one key to a successful marriage. It's actually not. The number one key is understanding.
Yeah.
When you understand who you are and who that person is and who
Yeah.
they're developing and turning into, then you know how to communicate.
Yeah.
An
I
example of this, and I know Sarah, you said you got to go, but and a prime time example of this was a conversation that I think me and Sparkle had. I don't know if we were engaged or that we were like initially married. I feel like we were engaged, going through counseling and all this good stuff. But we were at brunch with a friend, and we were discussing something, and the friend was there, and basically something along the lines of was said was, you can't think like that because Bahamians talk like this. And the friend said, but he's not Bahamian. And you are not American. And so you, like, when you hit the nail on the head when you were talking earlier about merging the lives together, because you are coming from me and Sparkle coming from two literally completely different
parts of the world.
parts of the world in trying to make a life together. Cultural backgrounds, experiences were similar, but majority were different.
Yeah.
We are coming from two completely different standpoints. And even though both of our countries speak English, it's still a whole different dynamic.
Yeah.
There's a different level of understanding that you have to realize that when you decide to get married, you have to get to a place where you recognize, okay, these are my strengths, these are the things I need to work on, and this person in front of me has a lot of good strengths, but this is the person that this is stuff that they need to work on too, and I need to provide them an environment where they can work on that, and they need to provide an environment where I can work on myself too, and not castrate me and burn me on the cross when I make a mistake in this fault. But I'm going to help them grow in this area of whatever it is, whether it's patience, communication, work ethic, whatever that looks like in your relationship, in your marriage. You do have to acknowledge that moving forward into marriage. If you guys are dating, if you guys are engaged, even in your initial years of marriage, you do have to realize that. And I think that's kind of where, like, Will and Jada kind of hit the snag, was because as they grew up, as they had kids, as they made more money, as they grew in popularity as the actor, the actress, the Smith, like, they weren't on the same page intimately. And because of that, that's when that snafu happened. And then the entanglement that was August and all the entanglements that Will Smith had, I'm just saying, we don't know, but that is what groomed that to happen.
Yeah.
Is because they were not on the same page of like growing and constantly like checking in. And I mean, that's why in my marriage, and I know Sparkle probably gets tired of me, but I like constantly every so often I check in and say, hey, how am I doing? How are you doing? What's something that you need in this time? We're going through a trend. Like right now, Sparkle is taking, I've talked about before, 12 hours.
That's a lot.
3 classes, each with a lab. Science classes. So when she come home, you know what she's doing? Hitting those studying, hitting the books, making sure that she's up to date so that we can have but I understand that she's doing this not only to better herself, but to better the both of us. So she can bring in more money, get into PT school and create a better life like we've never had before. But if I become selfish and say, you don't spend no time with me. We don't hang out no more. We can't go out on date nights because you got this, you got that. Negro, please. If you don't sit there and cheer on your woman, make her like yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Yeah, because yesterday she had a day off, and she literally sat in the same area for like 17 hours straight. You know what I did? I made sure she had breakfast. I made sure that she had something to eat because I understand that when she gets in that mode, she becomes laser focused and starts to not think about those things.
Yeah.
So I have to make sure it's my job as her partner to make sure that she's taken care of and is in the best environment to thrive and that's successful.
Yeah.
And I do this because I know if I take care of her, she's gonna take care of me later. Let the church say amen.
Partners. Amen. I think we got to do a part 2 to this.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna have to do a part 2 next week. Give y'all part 2.
Matter of fact, because I think we might need to get our partners on here. We might
for part 2.
For part 2, we might need to set that up.
Okay, so that's what we'll do. We'll do a part 2 to this conversation. I'll get with Ken and see, and we'll pick a day sometime next week, and we'll get this on and popping.
Yes, indeed. But thank y'all for doing it. We got to go. But thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure that you tune in each and every single Thursday. Give us that 5-star review on iTunes and keep pursuing your version of the good life. Until then, we'll see you next week.